Okay, guys, I'm going to talk about the future of urban mobility, okay? Okay, this is my definition of sustainable mobility because I know that you guys in Darmstadt, you're checking several definitions. We have the official definition at the bottom in green, and I have a short one and a longer one, okay? But I'm going to talk about the future mobility, so this is not the point of today. I have several readings that you have in the Meta Campus. Some of them are mine. One is something that the European Parliament commissioned me in 2009, so a long time ago now, 15 years ago. At that time, we were not talking about autonomous vehicles. We're talking about driverless vehicles. Some change of words, right? And then I have a summary, but it's in Spanish. But and then there are some other papers that are not mine, or presentations that are not mine. But and this is a disclaimer a little bit, because I started since the European Parliament in 2009, and then we delivered the report in 2010. In 2017, I was commissioned to prepare a kind of a guest lecture for public transport operators in Spain. And then I was kind of making a collection of news. And then since then, every year I've been adding like 10 or 20 slides every year. So now I have 230 slides. They are not very well organized. And and then some concepts have some my critiques. In a I can use a traffic light, green, amber, and red, and things that are okay, then they are green. Things that I don't see, they're fuzzy. I put amber, yellow, and then things that are wrong to me, I put red light. So I may not be right always, but I'm usually right most of the time. Okay, prediction is very difficult, especially about the future. Why did I put this 4.0? Well, trying to imitate Industry 4.0, they have 4 years, very special. So they define Industry 1, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th phase. I thought about something similar in mobility. The first is the wheel. And then the wheel makes sense if we have a way, a road, so the infrastructure, and then a vehicle with motor. And then the 4th step would be the information technologies. This is my summary, but it is in Spanish. You have it in the Meta Campus in Spanish, but I made a summary in English. So in the future, we're going to have, I'm going to move this because, okay, I cannot read. Okay, active mobility, conventional public transportation, they will be electric, all of them. And we need this capacity for, large demand and large corridors. But then also urban personal car that will be electric, shared, and autonomous, with less space on the street for its use in cities, and with a mutation from ownership to use. So we'll have fewer cars, but more vehicle kilometers per car. Many of the innovations we see in urban mobility, they consist of re-engineering of all concepts, but with the help of technology. We're going to see a reorganization of car sharing services and also the global transportation network companies' platforms. And we're going to integrate the demand responsive transit into regular public transportation and the delivery services and e-commerce. We're going to pay more attention to environmental and social issues, such as the seniority or reduced mobility people, gender issues, economic and digital gap, equity, right to the city, and minimum guaranteed salary. Okay, then let's go. Now we're going to move faster. These is my transportation system. I'm talking about motorized in general, motorized in engineering, motorized transportation system. It's very simple. It has only 4 elements, but then it has many, many constraints and many, many things that shape its behavior. The 4 elements are a motor, a container, pulled by the motor, a way, and a control system. But even culture, society, gender, business, environment, energy, whatever, all these shapes the transportation system. The units we use are very, very primitive, are quantity, vehicles times distance, or passenger times kilometers, vehicles times kilometers, multiplied, seats times kilometers, tons times kilometers, TEU, containers of 20 feet, times kilometers. And we don't talk about quality. Here we see some examples of nice ideas, but that they didn't consider the stakeholders' behavior. For example, the Segway. It appeared on Time magazine in the year 2000, I remember this perfectly, as the invention of the 21st century. And I thought, well, it's something that goes pretty fast, very vulnerable, very difficult to accelerate and brake because of physics. Our center of gravity is crossing the axis in between 2 wheels. Where are we going to put this? I thought that at that time, and now we don't know where to put this except for making wider bicycle lanes, and now they are bicycle and personal mobility devices lanes, and this is one of them. The Segway is one of them. This bicycle sharing system in Barcelona called Bici, had great media, political, and social success, but was full of planning and operational mistakes, probably due to the rush of trying to implement this in the year 2010. Or the high occupancy vehicle lanes in Spain, in Madrid and Barcelona. They work fine as a good bus lanes to increase the speed and regularity for the buses, but they don't increase the occupation of private cars. Why? Because there are many other things that are missing. Some pictures about some years ago, more than half a century ago, people were thinking about, you see, the self-driving cars of the future in 1960s. The cars were following, some marks on the road, and then the families, nobody was driving the car. No, so they were thinking about autonomous vehicles more than half a century ago. Or Google Maps. Google Maps. They didn't know about Google or internet at that time, no. But this was a picture from the 50s, 1950s, or flying cars, or talking over the phone and seeing the other person over the phone. This is something pretty local. It's from Spain. But all the guys we were nerds when we were teenagers. we're looking at this thing, some cartoons, and they had, stupid stories, no? But they had one page about the great inventions of TBO. TBO was the name of this cartoon. And Professor Franz of Copenhagen was a local guy, a guy from Barcelona. They were proposing complicated solutions to simple problems. And we were looking that these solutions would work. This guy was using the energy of a dog, putting, something, piece of meat or magnets or something like that, something that can generate, or a donkey, a dog trying to find a bone. But then we realized that they were too complicated solutions for something. What they were solving was very simple. So sometimes I have the same idea for the inventions that we have today. These are examples of forced design and innovation. This is some contest of awards that this brand Hankook, which is a manufacturer of rubber tires like Michelin or Goodyear, but from Korea. Well, you can check this video. You just need to put Hankook Award. Here you have the YouTube link, and you will see that everything is forced. It's trying to make innovations, something that will not solve any problem, or these unicycle climbing stairs instead of making the city flat, climbing stairs and things like that. No? So it's a little bit forced. There are some predictions about the future. This is one of them. I forgot the origin. I got this recently. We're going to have digital money, many things, space tourism, whatever, but we only care about mobility, urban mobility related. And then they'll say that nobody will have to drive vehicles in the future. And also the average person will live longer than 100 years, will live longer than 100 years. This has some implications because, of course, we may live, but our physical conditions are not the same as when we are 20 years old. No? So at the end, older people, they don't like transfers. They don't like, especially subways. They would rather have, door-to-door services with a taxi cab or somebody, driving them, whatever. No. I asked ChatGPT about the predictions, and then it said fewer cars. We're going to have fewer cars, from car ownership to mobility as a service, more shared, on-demand, and subscription-based mobility. The streets will be redesigned for people, not for vehicles. And the most relevant innovations will be autonomous vehicles, electrification, micro-mobility, reinvented public transportation with autonomous buses, electric buses, on-demand routes, and artificial intelligence optimization, mobility as a service, AI and data-driven traffic management, autonomous and green logistics, and urban design changes. And then I asked specifically about flying cars because there are many people investing, and that this is a reality. It's not a project anymore. And then the same ChatGPT says, limited, yes. Mass adoption, no. There are some challenges preventing the mass use, and then this is the picture ChatGPT made for me as the future urban mobility. It says mobility in 2035, 2040. You don't own a car. You plan trips via a single app. You walk or bike for short trips. You use autonomous electric shuttles for longer trips. The streets are quieter, greener, and safer. Flying vehicles exist, but you almost never use one. And I like this. It's a picture with a nice city. Yeah, there are some vehicles flying, but they are not common. At least in Europe. Maybe in China they may be. Okay, let's move on. Some inventions from my university. uh, we have a hub of innovation hub called CarNet, the network of cars. Is created by Volkswagen and SEAT, but instead of car, the network of cars, they call it the future mobility research hub. Okay, so they get in contact with some professors. The professors are experts about one thing, but not about urban mobility in general. And they came out with some ideas that, to me, they are not going to be implemented in a large scale. The first one was the microcity idea of Volkswagen. Was a parking facility for electric cars, and they didn't realize that instead of developing that, we should put electricity plugs in current commercial centers. Now this idea of microcity evolved into a public transport interchange or station, which is okay, but it's not a city. It's not a microcity. It's just a station. It has restaurants and it has shops, and it has a parking facility. Yes, but there are no people living there. No, there are no residents. Another professor, expert in robots, he was commissioned to think about a robot android driving a car. And then I said, why do we need two robots? No, the autonomous vehicle is already a robot. Why do we need two robots? Or these guys, Vade Bike is a bicycle rack. They are architects from my university. They designed a bicycle rack with smart, of course, you pay everything with an app. It has still two chains, two physical chains to lock the bicycle. But the innovation is that they use a golden spiral instead of a semicircle. Well, they put a lot of emphasis in the golden spiral, which is not relevant at all. Nobody uses them because nobody wants to pay when it's free next to it. You see the bicycles next to it. They are parking for free in inverted U tubes, and they don't use these anymore. Or the Volkswagen Barcelona Smart Bus. They put a bus. They implemented this, but during in a large city and during day hours. This works for this demand response transit. Works for low densities of demand and small vehicles, small capacity vehicles like a taxi cab, shared taxi cab. And the last one is this autonomous delivery device, pretty large. They call it ONA because it means wave in Catalan. It's pretty stupid. It goes and comes back, like the waves. But it's pretty large, and we don't know where to use this. This cannot be put in the sidewalks, or it cannot be put in the lanes, the street lanes. Well, some of the inventions, like this city car by MIT Media Lab, it's a small car that was folding also to use less space, parking. This transit elevated bus, they built it in Qihangdao in China. They built it. First, I thought was just an idea, but no, they built it. And then, or even the BMW C1 is this motorcycle to avoid wearing a helmet. So they had to make a stiff structure and to comply with the European rules. And I see that is the only brand that produces this kind of motorcycles. And of course, if we need to carry somebody, the second passenger must wear a helmet. So I'm not saying that they are big mistakes, but they don't have as much demand as they forecasted. Or this, I was in this PhD thesis, fast-moving sidewalks from the TU Delft. They are very experts about these conveyor belts going at high speed. High speed is 10 kilometers per hour. But the problem is when this is for freight, and when they want to use this for people, and on our streets, in European streets. You can imagine that if you move at 10 kilometers per hour, you need some fences. And of course, we don't want fences on our sidewalks, right? We're taking out all the furniture and motorcycles part and everything so that we recuperate the sidewalks for pedestrians. Below that, we have this idea that is just an idea in Japan. From Tokyo to Osaka, they are planning to build this huge conveyor belt of 500 kilometers to carry containers or freight in general. No, well, we have cargo rail. We have freight rail systems. No, so they should build a cargo rail system. Or these other things. These Optimo tools or monocap, they even came to this Barcelona Smart City Expo and World Congress, and they brought it, but claiming that we can use regular rails, but only one rail out of two. But you see that they still use another leg touching the second rail because it's very difficult to keep the balance that may not be symmetric in something that only holds one rail. So it was a nice idea, but it's very difficult implementation. This guy is a Russian inventor and gets this idea from this spinner or pectops and makes this kind of vehicles with a gyroscope moving really, really fast. And then by moving moving the mass really, really fast, we just need a very small surface to keep equilibrium. And he's proposing buses and fire trucks with this system. Well, and then at the end, he solves the fire. He puts off the fire with drones. If we have drones, if we can fly, then we don't need this anymore. He is proposing also this drive market with cars so that we can go to shopping with our car. Well, you can imagine that this it will not work, no? Will create a mess of a traffic jam. This is the American inventor. We all know him, Elon Musk, even though he's from South Africa originally, but he lives in LA. He has 10 or more inventions, but one of them is a SpaceX. But I just put the ones that are related to urban mobility. Tesla, the electric vehicles, it's obvious that this was going to be a success. The only thing is that he didn't consider all the improvements in the mechanical engineering industry in the last century from Japan, from US, and from Europe. And he still builds these Tesla cars. They're pretty expensive still. The Hyperloop, I put this yellow face because I thought, well, I don't believe this on this very much, but if we can drive, if we can move at 1,200 kilometers per hour and safe and very cheap, well, this is innovation. But at the end, even Elon Musk considers this that this will not work. He put a lot of money, his money. I think they were building several of them, one in Italy, one in Chicago, in several places they were building them. And the last one is the Boring Company making tunnels so that the cars can move on trays really fast. We all knew that this was going to work. This was not going to work, and this would be a mistake. Well, some reflection, and now I'll go faster, some reflection about innovations. Since most of you guys that are listening to me are Europeans, I don't have very good news. We're not very good. We have good ideas, but our systems, we don't have critical mass, and our systems, they don't work as they work in some other countries, like China, US. Here you have Russian innovation, always thinking about war, missiles, whatever, no? US thinking about this, but also SpaceX returning, which is amazing how cool it returns. It's something that NASA has never been able to do during decades and with a lot of money. Or China's, many things, no? The magnetic levitation at 623 kilometers per hour, this drone mothership that is holding 1,000 drones. Everything is amazing in China. And this is our European innovation, putting this cap tied to the plastic bottle, but we still use plastic bottles. There are some cities that are proposing things that are populist to me. This city in Romania, Cluj-Napoca, they proposed some years ago, 10 years ago, during 1 week only, that if you go reading a book, then you would have a free ride in buses, public transportation buses. This was a proposal, was proposed by this guy here that you can see in the picture. He's a poet. He got in contact with the mayor, and he convinced the mayor as a test. And then, the mayor tested this, and but he was losing a lot of money. And this is kind of things of, it's a nice, to read is nice, but we are mixing things, we're mixing paying for mobility, for overcoming distance and time, and then doing something nice, which is reading, regardless of the book, because of course they couldn't screen what kind of book, and maybe you guys were reading a philosophy book, and then I was reading some cartoons, no, and maybe upside down, like that guy Bush, no. So it was free ride, the same, no. And now they just implemented in December. They just implemented this free bus if you can do 20 squats. This gymnastics is also nice to keep in shape the people, but is again they have a machine that look at you. It looks at you, and it looks like if you are trying to do these 20 squats in 2 minutes. In 2 minutes. If you do it, then you get a ticket. Well, in France, they give you money back only if you go to work by bicycle. If you go walking, no. Walking is better. Well, I don't care. Just bicycle. I'm trying to promote the bicycle. And they give you €0.25 per kilometer of cash payback. Well, maybe we thought that free public transportation was a populist proposal, but with looking at the trend, this here I asked ChatGPT to give me how many free public transport initiatives are implemented, working, operational worldwide. Most of them are in Europe, but you see in North America, there are 43, and South America 15, in Africa only 2, in Asia 15, and in Australia 5. If you look at the table on the right, top right, you see that the number of cities and even countries, small countries like Luxembourg, it's increasing. The last large city we have in Europe is Belgrade. It's a pretty large city already, and they implemented this in January of last year, so 1 year ago. Of course, there are some caveats, for example, Chilean researchers that are saying the negative parts of this. The positive parts we know. The negative part is that this costs a lot of money, and then there are some issues that we should pay attention before implementing this. Some people use also biomimetics, which is okay. It's nice to look at the nature, but the problem is when they jump from the nature, very simple things like bees. These were a bunch of people analyzing the behavior of bees. And then the problem is when they jump, extrapolating the behavior of bees, when they see flowers, and they use this kind of gravity models. If I see a flower that is closer to me, then I have more probabilities that they go to this flower. But when they jump into people, if I'm moving in a pedestrian street, I should be, according to these guys, if I was a bee and I need to buy shoes, I see a shoe store, then I should go there. I should enter that shop, and maybe I buy the shoes there. But maybe I want the shoes of this brand, and I don't care about this first shop. So we behave in a more complex way. There are many other things like fractals, metropolitan galaxies, amoebas, and slime mold. They apply this to design railway networks and Tokyo metro system. It's the only application. Well, the nature applies optimization, but we do know about optimization too. So we don't need to follow what the slime mold does. No, we can apply optimization. Here I put an example also of a paper I reviewed some years ago. In the top right, there were some psychologists. They apply some factor analysis with many criteria to select a route, and none of them was travel time or cost. And we think, engineers, that these two variables explain 80% of the problem, and the 20% left we don't know. And there are so many things that we don't know. But these guys focus on the 20% that we don't know, and they missed 80%. This Benjamin report was a bunch of telecommunication engineers and computer scientists. They had a meeting in this island, Greek island, Corfu, in 1994, and they came out with that report. They thought that mobility of people and freight was like bits and bytes and photons. So everything was going to evolve really fast. And of course, it's much slower than they thought. They thought that, they said on this report from 1994, that we would have 10 million teleworks in the year 2000. I'm pretty sure we don't have them today. And after the coronavirus pandemics. And that we would have in the year 2000 telematics in 30 main metropolitan areas, and we don't have them today. Yes, we do move atoms with energy, electrons, and photons, but physically moving, the real mobility is different and more complex than moving energy electrons and photons. So far, we don't have teleportation yet, only in science fiction movies and cartoons. And here I put how technology, the oldest one is civil engineering, and then industrial engineering 150 years ago, and then recently telecommunications engineering, how this is implemented in the transportation system. Civil is strategic and deals with infrastructure. Then industrial deals with the vehicle and energies. And then the operational information technologies deals with location of vehicles, telecommunications, etc. In Europe, we are pretty close at the end, where civil engineering related has very low role still. Tactical engineering, industrial engineering has some changing energies, but and then there is a lot of work to do with operational issues. In a developing country, we will be a little bit behind in time, so we have still a lot of things to do in dealing with strategic planning, and then a lot of things to do related to tactical planning, industrial engineering or mechanical engineering, and then we can do some things, but if we don't have nice roads or we don't have safe vehicles and reliable vehicles, then it doesn't matter very much, right? To have optimization of something that we cannot control. I recommend that you look at this this video about the autonomous vehicles future intersection. It's a video that was taped at lower speeds, and now they put higher speeds. So it's amazing how people and motorcycles and bicycles and cars, they mix without crashing. And it's a little bit surprising to see this at high speed, but I have to tell you that this was filmed at very low speed. And they claim that in the future we're not going to need traffic lights to have a safe intersection. Of course, we don't want to have these many traffic lights. But it's true that autonomous vehicles and collaborative, they are communicated, they can increment the capacity of the intersection by 1.5 or by 2. And then I saw this Fast and Furious #8 movie, and they were hacking the electric vehicles, and they were just for a purpose that was a stupid purpose, just to stop a car. But I thought, well, wait a minute, it's true. Maybe they can be hacked. I don't know. They can hack some other things. Maybe they can hack the vehicles too. This guy, Sam Schwartz, was called aka, also known as Gridlock Sam, was the director of mobility of New York City during many, many decades. They would call him Gridlock Sam because New York was gridlock always. Well, he says that the most radical urban transportation solution is a pair of shoes. So walking in people-centered cities. Here we have a picture of La Ramblas in Barcelona, and then we'll have to pay more attention to these reduced mobility people, the elderly. These people say that in this inverted pyramid that we put first walking, and then they put these rideables, and then public transportation, and then these people say, no, first walking, it's okay, but then public transportation, because we cannot ride personal mobility devices. We want public transportation. So we're going to have this kind of, to pay more attention to the elderly and reduce mobility people in the future. as I said, we're going to have active mobility coexisting with public transportation modes, which will be electric in the future, and the urban personal car will be electric, shared, and autonomous, with less space and more expensive in the cities, and from property to use. We have already today many kinds of autonomous vehicles. They have 5 levels. Level 0 means no, the classical conventional vehicles that we need a driver with the hands-on on the wheel and eyes on. And level 5 is no driver. We can do whatever we want. There are several levels in between. I thought at the beginning that they were gonna bet for level 3, something in between, but no. Some, especially from the Silicon Valley companies, they started betting for level 5, even though we're not gonna have this in a extended way in several decades. But there are some already working on this. Especially taxi cabs in San Francisco and some other cities in the US, in China, in Abu Dhabi. Here you have some cities: San Francisco, LA, Austin, Texas, Phoenix, Arizona, Atlanta, Abu Dhabi, and then several cities in China, including Beijing, Shenzhen, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Wuhan. We have some as a test here in Europe, some microbuses or minibuses, autonomous. This big picture is from the group, the Renault group, the French group, came to Barcelona, and I think they came just for 1 week, just to get this kind of pictures, no? A nice building behind, La Pedrera, La Casa Milà, and some other nice buildings we have in Barcelona with their autonomous minibus. Well, some years ago, and I think still works today, people from Volkswagen, they were saying that driverless cars don't make business sense. That was some years ago. They checked how much money people were willing to pay for this autonomous vehicle extra. They sell it as an extra, like the radio, and then the autonomous vehicle extra. And people were saying about around $5,000. Volvo came out with the autonomous vehicle pack for 9,000 euros, so almost twice. They have a moral machine at MIT lab. You can check it and you can play with it. And they are asking you if you were to make a decision about killing a group of people or killing some others, what would you do? And it's interesting a little bit. There is a moral hierarchy of people. First, they would save children, and especially girls, female children, and then older females, and especially if they are pregnant. And then the last ones are the males, older, and the last ones are, thieves, people that are doing nasty things. So there is a kind of a moral things that, okay, these guys are saying that this transition, it's going to last several years, several decades, not years, decades, 30 to 40 to 50 years, the transition, mixing autonomous vehicles with conventional vehicles, and during the transition, we're going to get worse. The situation will become worse. This is also a very famous graphic from UC Davis. I put a cross because I don't believe on the second prediction. They say, okay, in 2050, all over the world, business as usual scenario, red light, traffic light, red light, we're going to have these many billions of cars, these many megatons of emissions. If we implement two revolutions, which is electrification, all the vehicles electrified, and then automation, all of them autonomous, then they say that we would have the same number of vehicles. I think they're wrong. We're going to have less, but I cannot tell you how many less. The emissions are much less, but not zero, because we need to produce the vehicles. And then when we implement a third revolution, which is sharing, then everything is perfect. Then we get from red light to amber light or yellow light and then green light. So the green light, we only get green light with 3 revolutions. That includes sharing. If sharing is the real revolution, why don't we do it right now? Because we don't need to wait to have all the vehicles electric and all the vehicles autonomous. Why? Because it's very difficult. So these people are very optimistic, at least. Okay, guys, I need to go faster. Well, think about mobile phones instead of people or vehicles. Instead of vehicle or people. They have a lot of sensors. Sometimes, okay, we're gonna measure how you people drive, and then we think always the first thing we think is a car with sensors. No, we have these guys. This is enough. All the sensors are here inside inside our cell phone, our smartphone. Many things about collaborative economics are, to me, they are re-engineering of all concepts, and I have to tell you, typical from developing countries or post-war periods. So when we were poor, or when we need to share an apartment because we don't make money enough, and we will share the apartment with some friends, usually when we are students. But now they are selling these concepts with the same greedy capitalism philosophy, but under the mystical umbrella of technology. I don't have time to explain this in detail, but the true innovation of the platforms is trust, and especially it will be increased with the blockchain. And I recommend that you read this paper. The sharing economy was always a scam. Sharing was supposed to save us. Instead, it became a Trojan horse for a precarious economic future. There is many things to say about Ubernomics, the economics of Uber. They use this gig economy. Is the typical where economy of music players or somebody, an artist that is performing 1 hour and it's enough. Of course, this guy, we don't need to make a contract or whatever. Maybe they get money in black money. They are not. So they use this kind of behavior to implement massive platforms related to mobility, and they don't have full-time employees. These employees, they don't have the rights that we have been fighting for, and many people have died about these rights in the last centuries, etc. There is also some legal and externalities and worker rights issues that you can read if you want. Here I say, pay the minimum. You can still make business, good business, but follow the rules. Pay the minimum salary, wage, put the workers in your payroll as an employees, pay a fixed salary every day, not just a payment per delivery. It's okay to give a bonus for according to productivity, but not 100% the bonus. And the workers need benefits, vacation, health insurance, sick leave, social security, unemployment, retirement. These are some examples of some companies This is a pretty little thing, and boohoo that they do this in Leicester in the UK, and it looks like they pay 1/3 of the minimum wage to illegal immigrants. This is a Barcelona company, Globos, but was sold now to, I think, a German company. They had a problem. One of the riders died in a car accident, in a traffic accident in the city, and then the company said, "Well, no, it's not my employee. Of course, he doesn't have insurance or anything." And then they had a big demonstration and a big issue against the company, and then finally the company gave money to the family. They create externalities that we using our public space, using these ghost kitchens. So all this is the future that we have already today. Or I want your business, but not your taxes. They pay the taxes in Ireland because they have a very low tax. We're going to see peer-to-peer rental vehicles. This is much easier with electric motors. The internal combustion motors were more delicate and sophisticated, and we didn't want to lend our cars, no? But with electric vehicles, motors, we don't care so much. There are some surprises. Some BMW investing in buses, and BlaBlaCar, which is sharing one car, a personal trip. It's taking on buses. Some weird things. Large investments, buying companies. $1,000 million, except for Intel that put $15,000 million or $15 billion to buy Mobileye. This concept that I thought was okay, mobility as a service. I like this cow that, okay, we like milk, but we don't need to have a cow in every house. No, that's true. So we may like to drive and we don't need to own a car. It may be true. But this guy, Sampo Jetanen from Finland, implemented this mobility as a service, the first one, and now they went bankrupt last year in 2024. It's a package where you pay a monthly package, and then you have some public transportation unlimited, bicycle sharing system unlimited, and then some taxi cabs, rental car days, and motor sharing rides according to what you pay. Air mobility, as I said, I don't think we're going to have this massively implemented in Europe and in the US because of security. In China, it's okay, and they're doing everything is under control. It's supervised by the administration. They do this. They use drones to bring your food, or they flying taxi cabs, or. But this can be used. I'm saying we're not going to see this in the cities, right? In the European cities, but outside of the city, why not? In rural places, why not? Actually, one of our research lines at the Barcelona Innovative Transportation Research Group is to study this delivery with drones, in the rural places. Well, they apply also some game theory to know where crowding. Barcelona subway tells you how crowded is the car in the subway, in the trains of the subway. They tell you the density according to data provided by the car shock absorbers. I remember a presentation I made. They had a kind of a seminar like this with this title, "The Future of Sustainable Mobility, Above or Underground?" And I started saying neither above nor underground, on surface. For the long distance transportation, we're going to have, maybe they are trying to recuperate the supersonic aircrafts, even though we had one, the Concorde, and was not feasible, was not profitable. The Chinese are reaching, they reach already 623 kilometers per hour with magnetic levitation. And they claim that they can reach 1,000 kilometers per hour. Well, this is going to be the Hyperloop, the Hyperloop. The Hyperloop, the Elon Musk said that was not working. This was some comments that I made to the European Parliament, saying that this is not what we want, or this was a mistake. This personal mobility, these people mover is from Canada. We cannot, we don't want this in our cities, because this needs. This is like it's okay to link the airport with a station, with a public transportation station, but not on our cities. In the future, our cities will be a car that will be autonomous, a taxi cab, and then using the streets, the surface streets. Of course, we're going to have innovations with these very nice articulated or bi-articulated buses that will have the same performance as light rail transit, as tramways. And we're going to recuperate our cities for the people. Our cities were always for the people before the car. The only thing is that in the last century, 125 years, the car took most of the space. This is in my report, so I'm not going to talk about this, but the things that will be in and out in Europe in 2050. I put this picture because some years ago, only 10 years ago, people were not thinking that we could see all the details in the cities. And they were thinking that, okay, pedestrians should wear something emitting some signals. That was only 10 years ago. This has changed, and now we can see everything. But, for example, this is the city of Barcelona. This Mobileye is an Israeli company. They came here to have some tests. And then, they say that this is the near-miss incidents with cars. And then I've never heard of any car hitting a pedestrian in the Gothic quarter of Barcelona, the old town, they just see pedestrians. It doesn't mean, so now that we can see, now they should fix the algorithm to define a near-miss incident. Less driving and motorization, less car property, less driving. Shared vehicles. This is also a Barcelona company. This is a German guy who came to get an MBA in Barcelona at this IESE MBA school, and then he started his this business, cool transportation. First sharing motorcycles, and now he shares also bicycles. Well, with sharing shared vehicles, we also have problems especially with kick scooters. They banned this in Paris, I think 2 years ago, and in Madrid, and we never accepted this in Barcelona. It was a big fight, I remember. People writing in the newspaper saying, come on, Barcelona doesn't have this. Well, because we don't like this. Because you guys, you don't take care of your customers' behavior. Or this example of Car2Go, now is Share Now. They operate in Madrid. They don't operate in Barcelona because they don't want to pay for the parking on street. I'm finishing micro-mobility, shared micro-mobility. It has some problems, as I told you. Here I have a thread of 20 tweets that you can follow in former Twitter. Has been banned in UK roads, as I told you, in Paris in 2023, in Madrid in 2024, and Barcelona, we never allowed this. There are some rules for these personal mobility devices, some regulations in Barcelona from 2017, but they're difficult to apply, to surveil. And then we have also, at least in some European cities, most of them, they are touristic cities, but because most of the European cities are the best, the best combination of quality of life and history and culture. So now we're having problems about tourist mobility. Funny things from imported by developing countries like tuk-tuks. Of course, they are new. They banned these tricycle taxi cabs in Barcelona. We had thousands. Some kick bikes, many things that are, or even pedestrians, in a bunch of hundreds, visiting La Ramblas. So this is creating. I left you a paper, a recent paper of mine, where I analyzed the flow interaction of different flows with different speeds, and I define a measure of maneuverability, and then I say that I can say when cars and pedestrians may share the same space, when personal mobility devices and pedestrians can share the sidewalk, when personal mobility devices and bicycles can share the same micro-mobility lane. Well, all of them, even including motorcycles using a bus lane, all of them, they have the same conclusion. The principles are the same. When we have similar speeds, when we have low speeds for both, when we have low densities for both, and when we have low flows for both. In the last case of motorcycles, using the bus lanes, when the motorcycles have very high maneuverability, which is the case. Demand responsive transit, public transportation, and on-demand car sharing. Taxi cabs versus transport network companies like Uber or Cabify. They're still fighting, and we have continuous demonstrations in Barcelona. These ADAS, advanced drivers assistance systems, and smart roads. Mobility apps, many, and solutions. These are investors, one from Silicon Valley and another one from Spain, from Madrid. This is the CEO of BlaBlaCar, and they say that driving is going to be the new smoking. And my conclusions, we don't have disruptive mobility, no above or underground, but on surface. Air mobility will need surveillance by administration. So maybe in China will work okay, but I don't think we're going to see this implemented massively in our cities. In the outskirts of the city or the rural places, yes. This TNC blooming, it's coming to an end, but it will stay forever. Autonomous vehicles and electric mobility requires pricing for the trip, will improve air quality, noise, and safety, but not in the short term, in the 20 to 40 years horizon. We can start sharing and increasing the occupancy right now, but it's very difficult. That's why we don't do it. We're going to see apps for peer-to-peer and floating point sharing. We already have them. We're going to have a mobility portfolio and as a mobility as a service, and we need to keep putting economic logic and market values to taxes and administrative fees. And we need also the 21st century administration, not the 19th century administration, 21st century. So they need to be proactive with mobility as a service, regulation, and dynamic fees. That's it.